What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality podcast. I'm your host. I'm Caitlin Kenna Smith. And today's episode of the podcast kind of stems from this weekend. So let me talk to you a little bit about what I did this weekend that kind of brought all of this into my mind and allowed it to swirl around in there. And usually when thoughts are swirling around in my head, they end up making their way out into the podcast, because really that's what this podcast and this project and this passion is all about, is to share my life experiences with you and kind of just articulate the things that I learned throughout my daily, life as a coach, as a wife, as a athlete, and hopefully give you guys some insight on what I'm learning through my experience of life and what I have learned through everything that I've been through, as well as things that I'm currently going through. But if you know me personally, then you know that I have a really hard time relaxing or quieting down or calming down in any way, shape, or form. I'm that person that is always fucking going, whether I'm training or working or just thinking about different ideas and thinking about different things that I probably shouldn't be thinking about because they're just stressing me out in the moment when I should be relaxing. It's really hard for me to kind of come down, because I know that I'm not the only one who struggles with this. A lot of high achievers do struggle with this, but also just a lot of people who just are type A people, whether you're just a super driven person in their career or you're super driven as a parent. But a lot of us struggle to come down in the sense where I'm okay with relaxing and doing nothing or doing something mindless. And my husband's always like, oh, you got to do something more mindless to kind of bring yourself down, calm yourself down, de-stress a little bit. And I tell my clients all the time the same thing, because stress is such a horrible thing when it's applied in excess, because the reality is that stress is an inevitable and appropriate, and it's an appropriate part of life. I think appropriate is the wrong word, but when it's in appropriate doses, it helps us excel forward, because without any form of stress in our life, then we wouldn't be able to accomplish anything great, right? Because, for example, when it comes to building muscle, you have to apply a stress through training to the body in order for that muscle breakdown to happen, which is what stems that recovery process for you to build back those muscles stronger. It's kind of the same thing in life. When you go through a very stressful situation, it might break you down in the moment. However, your perspective and what you do next to recover and heal from those wounds builds you back stronger and more resilient. So this weekend, I was like, you know what? We're going to go after I train Saturday morning, because me and Stone spend Saturdays together. And generally, I train in the morning, and it's usually a pretty long, grueling session. We go to First Watch, and First Watch is our place. If you've never been to First Watch, please sponsor me. Stone and I go literally every single weekend, sometimes twice. And whenever we're traveling, we always find one, because we fucking love First Watch. I don't know why. It's super consistent. The food is pretty damn good. And honestly, the people at every First Watch we've been to, they make that experience usually top-notch, with the exception of 2. But we go to First Watch, and then generally we'll go to Starbucks, get coffee, then run errands for the rest of the day, and then head back home and usually just kind of relax with a movie and call that a date night. And we prioritize that time. It's kind of like our sacred Saturday, because we work really hard during the week with work, but also with training. And we don't really get enough time with each other, especially since Stone travels so much for work. He's rarely home nowadays, and when he is home, we want to make sure that we're not just appreciating the time that we have together, but really being present with each other. So Saturdays are our sacred Saturdays. And this Saturday, we made the choice to make a beach day out of it, because we live about 40 minutes with traffic from Destin, Florida. So 30A beaches, the most beautiful beaches, or some of the most beautiful beaches in America. Honestly, I lived on the beach my entire life growing up in New York on the Atlantic Ocean, and those beaches are nice. Beaches are cool, but these beaches here, in Destin, in 30A, Santa Rosa Beach, holy crap, these beaches are beautiful. The sand is snow white, and the water is crystal clear, nice and warm. It's just unbelievable. If you've never made a trip down to Destin or to the Emerald Coast is what they call it, the panhandle of Florida, do it. It's totally worth it just for the fact to see the beauty that life and nature can bring. Now, we wanted to do a beach day last week, with Stone's first week being home, but it decided on the one day that we were going to go that it was going to torrentially downpour. So we decided, hey, well, let's move it to this week and we'll be able to actually enjoy it instead of like guessing if it's going to start raining on us or not. So we went down to the beach, and when we were at the beach, we bought a couple beach chairs, we bought an umbrella, we set everything up. We were just relaxing. We cracked open a couple of First Form energy drinks, which if you haven't tried the new flavors of the First Form energy drinks, they just dropped 2 new flavors for summer. So Summer Aid, which is like a strawberry lemonade, which is officially my new favorite because I am a sucker for anything strawberry lemonade. And then they have a grape smash, which I haven't tried yet. But First Form energy drinks are the only energy drink that I can drink without feeling like a garbage can. Generally, I prefer to get my caffeine through coffee, but didn't really feel like having a hot cup of coffee when I was on the beach. So we got the new energy drinks that morning, decided to crack them open, and it just felt right. Like we were just sipping on energy drinks and having really good conversation and getting a little bit of tan while we were doing it. And it was nice. Because when I drink those energy drinks, I feel fucking dialed in because they have nootropics in them too. So it's not just like a caffeine burst. It actually also helps with like cognitive function and mental clarity. And I felt really good. So we were just having really good conversation. And for me, really good, deep conversation is so meaningful. Like that is more meaningful than anything. I really can't stand that lately in today's day and age, so many people just have such surface level conversation and we never actually really get deep into conversation. And I think a really good, deep conversation is one that you'll never forget and can really impact your life in so many different ways. And a lot of the focus that we were talking about, or it went to at one point, was how so many people nowadays are so unwilling to become uncomfortable, or how they just almost settle because of the lack of belief that they have in themselves, or because of the shit that they've been through in their life. Now, first off, I talk about this a lot. And the reason why I talk about this a lot is because I'm very passionate about this subject and the fact that as humans, we all go through shit. Every single person goes through shit. And over the last 4 years, I feel like everybody's almost been competing on social media. Like, I've been through more shit. No, I've been through more shit. Where everybody's trying to almost fight to be like, who's the biggest victim? Like, I've been through more shit than you, so, like, you should feel sorry for me. Which is so disgusting, honestly. It's kind of like the same thing with so many people are, like, drawn to negativity and drawn to drama. And it's just like, why? Like, we get one life. Why are you living it like that? Because then you're just always looking for something to fear or something to stress about. And there's so many other things that you can do with your life. And we are given one life on this earth, and it's shorter than you want it to be. Like, just think about, I'm almost 30 years old. I cannot believe that. And a lot of us think like, oh my God, life is such a long, like we have like 100 years, maybe, depending, right? But you don't know when that time's going to be taken away either. Like, you're not guaranteed X amount of years on this planet. And it's how you use those hours with what matters. We all get the same hours in a day. How are you going to use it, right? But I've been through a lot of shit in my life. I've spoken about a lot of it on the podcast, but honestly, I don't want to get too into it because it's in my past. And I cannot change the past. Physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, just a lot of things. And for a really long time, I let those things dictate my happiness and my success in life. I spent so many years feeling sorry for myself because of the things that have happened to me in the past that other people have done to me that I couldn't control. I drove away so many people that I cared about in my life because I was so fixated on boo me, I suck, nobody likes me, I don't deserve life. And I felt all of these things so strongly And frankly, it ruined my life for a really long time because I couldn't do a lot of things. Or every time I would start to kind of break through and be good at something or find something that I'm passionate about, in my head I would say, you don't deserve this. You don't deserve to be successful. Or you're not enough. That person's probably going to leave, so you should probably just head out now before you get hurt again. Or they're going to hurt you, so you should probably get out of here before they hurt you. I felt that for a really long time. And too many people let that shit hold them back from living the life that they want to live. You know, I say it a lot on the podcast, but like, you can allow your past to be your prison or you can allow it to be your power. And for a long time, I allowed my past to be my prison. And there are still moments today where I have that like snap of the fingers moment where I'm like, fuck. Why did I have to go through all that? Like, damn, that hurt. But now I've done enough of work on myself, physically and emotionally, where I can snap back and say, I went through that happened, and it made me the strong, resilient person that I am today. And a lot of people get stuck there. I know a lot of people who are in their 60s, 70s, in my family, who are still stuck there because they had something happen to them in their 20s, or even earlier, maybe they had a shitty childhood, and they still sit with that shit. And I get it, it's not easy to work through it. And a lot of times you feel confusion, like, why do I have to go through this? Why is this happening to me? But instead of allowing that to be like, hey, why is this all happening to me? Think about it in a different light and say, okay, this is happening for me. How can I become great from this? Because perspective truly does drive performance in our life. And there are a lot of people around you who are talking shit at you. I get it. They're kind of leveling you out and saying, it's okay, you're fine, like, don't worry about it. And, there's nothing wrong with that. But the reality is that if you want to do anything great in your life, you're going to have to make a choice. Success and greatness can be really lonely, and it is. And that's something that people don't talk about enough. You might look at somebody who's super successful and think that, like, oh, they've got everything. They got a ton of people who love them. When in all reality, the journey that they went through to get to that point where you deem them as successful is fucking lonely because it requires such intense focus and such intense consistency. And the average person doesn't have that level of focus and consistency that is required to get to a great level. Most people are on autopilot constantly throughout their life. And they do what others deem fit or what society deems acceptable in their eyes. Then they get a little bit of pushback if they try to do anything differently or anything out of the norm, right? Like, I have a lot of people say, hey, it's not that serious, like, it's just fucking CrossFit, or it's not that serious, it's just a podcast, or it's not that serious, it's just your little coaching business. Like, let loose, relax, go out, like, do other things. Like, it is that serious to me. Because maybe you don't see my vision, but I do. And it's a serious thing for me. Because, again, I get one life on this earth, and I spent way too much of it wasting my time, feeling sorry for myself, and not taking action on the things that I wanted to do in my life because of other people. Because I was trying to please somebody else, or because I was listening to what somebody else thought I was capable of. The majority of people that you meet in life like to be comfortable. And you doing hard or uncomfortable things makes them uncomfortable. So then they're going to let you know that and spew their negativity on you in order to bring you back down to their level. Because you getting uncomfortable and trying to achieve something great makes them uncomfortable, and they kind of don't like that. But you're not obligated to do anything for anybody. Understand that this is your life. And it's up to you, it's up to your integrity, and it's up to what's most important to you. living a life that you can be proud of. And one of the biggest lessons and the hardest lessons that people need to learn in life if they want to achieve something is that no is a complete sentence. And that doesn't mean not doing the things that you don't want to do, because in order to achieve great things, you're going to have to do things that you don't want to do sometimes. For example, like, I don't want to fucking go and train today. It's 96 degrees right now, and I'm going to train in about an hour. It's just going to get hotter. And it's a fucking long training session, and my ankle's kind of tight and it hurts a little bit because I have a little bit of tendinitis going on that I'm nursing. And I don't know, I'm really thirsty right now, so I don't feel like training in 96. I can make any fucking excuse that I want. I didn't sleep very well last night. I have a lot that I need to do, but guess what? In order for me to live the life that I want and build the life that I want to build that makes me proud and that's the most amazing life for myself and my family, I have to be obsessed. And part of that obsession is training, because that training is what is required for me to build the life that aligns with my mission and purpose. So yeah, you're going to have to do things that you don't want to do. But do those things help you get closer to the life that you want to live? Do those things align with your values, your core values, your mission, your purpose? Or are you just trying to do those things to avoid conflict? Or are you just trying to do those things to please somebody else? Nothing wrong with pleasing somebody else so long as it's also pleasing you, right? Because like, I'm going to do something that's going to please my husband, but one of the most important things to me in my life is to make my husband happy. So I'm going to do what it takes to make him happy, even if that means doing shit that I don't want to do or watching movies that I don't want to watch sometimes, because I want to make him happy. Because that makes me happy, and that's part of my mission. Now, off of that, though, when you do things that you don't want to do, and when you're on this mission, and you're following this process to get the life that you want, you're going to run into failure, and you're going to run into discomfort. It's an inevitable part of life. Failure, discomfort. But here's where that perspective comes into play. How are you going to see that failure and discomfort? Are you going to see it as part of the process? An essential part of the process, right? Because if I never fail at something, then I'll never succeed at it. If I never get uncomfortable, then I'll never be able to find my true limits and push past them and get better and stronger and more resilient. Right? If I didn't get uncomfortable in training, then when I got on the competition floor, I'd get smoked. If I didn't fail lifts, then I wouldn't be able to learn from them and succeed. So you can view failure and discomfort as part of the process, or you can do what most people do and use it as another excuse or another opportunity for you to feel sorry for yourself. And honestly, if you feel offended by this or anything that I've said so far, 1, the shoe fucking fits. So now what are you going to do about it? And 2, she's calling me weak. I've gotten that. She's calling me weak. You're calling me weak. You're not weak. I'm not calling you weak. Because guess what? We are all weak in some way. We all have a weakness. Humans are imperfect, meaning that we have strengths and we have weaknesses. We have moments of strength and we have moments of weaknesses. No matter how fucking strong somebody seems, David Goggins on top of the world when it comes to discipline, right? Somebody who everybody knows is like the hardest motherfucker out there, as he would say. He has moments of weakness too. He has weaknesses too. He's slipped up because he's felt weak in a moment. But does he sulk in it? No, he moves on and learns from it. Same thing with me. People think, oh, you're just so strong. Like, I'm not like you. I'm not strong. I have moments of weaknesses. You want me to tell you? Yesterday I was sitting on my garage floor, stretching and crying, listening to oceans. Because I've just had a tough time lately. And I just needed to cry. There's nothing wrong with that. But I didn't stay there. I moved on from it and I learned from it. So no, I'm not calling you weak, because we all have weaknesses. We are humans. We are imperfect. And just because you feel weak doesn't mean you are weak. But here's what you need to learn in those moments. Is that so many people avoid their weaknesses because they want to get to the strengths to show off. They don't want to show people that they're weak. But you have to be patient in your weaknesses, and you have to stay in those weaknesses, and your strength will come. Because if you rush through your weaknesses or you completely avoid them just to play to your strengths, then you're never going to learn from those weaknesses. Sitting in your weaknesses is where you learn the most and eventually develop different, more resilient perspectives towards life. Sometimes we're tested. It's part of life. But it's not to show our weaknesses, but to develop our strengths. So what you need to understand is you need to respect the hard work and respect the journey. And stay humble, because you're not perfect. But every day you're given the opportunity to improve both on your weaknesses and your strengths and become a better version of you. Are you wasting those opportunities, or are you taking advantage of those opportunities? It's not fucking easy. It's not. It's not going to feel effortless. You're going to feel like you're forcing it. I'm not going to lie to you. But you know what is easy? It's easy to fall victim to your weaknesses when you use them as a label. When you start saying, oh, well, I just suck at that, or I can't do that because I had this happen to me, then you start to believe that, and then that becomes a limiting belief. And it's a false belief. Because when you go through a lot of shit, that doesn't make you weak, even if you feel weak. That makes you strong. But you're just not seeing your strength because you're blinded by all of these false limiting beliefs that you're telling yourself. I used a lot of things as a label. For a really long time, I was the girl who had an eating disorder, and I used that as my label. I'll never be able to eat enough because I just have these eating disorder thoughts, so that'll hold me back, and I'll never get strong enough because I have these eating disorder thoughts. I'll never be a CrossFit athlete because I have these eating disorder thoughts that never go away. That's the life that I lived. And then this year I made a choice and I was like, fuck that. I'm either going to go all in right now and allow myself to see what I'm truly capable of. And then even if I don't make it as a CrossFit athlete, I can still look back and say, well, I gave it everything I had. Instead of looking back and saying, well, I almost gave it everything I had, but I did allow my eating disorder thoughts to get in the way. I guess I just wasn't made out for it. Not everybody wins, but you can fucking try. And you can give it everything you have. That's a choice. The problem that a lot of people have is that they won't act like a champion until they are the champion. What if right now in your life, you just visualize yourself that you are the champion, and you trained and you lived like that person? Would it change? Other people also may label you and say, hey, you suck at this, or hey, you're weak at this, or hey, you had this happen to you. They try to, again, conform you to a box because they don't know what you're capable of. You're capable of so much more than you think you are. Man, that's the only reason why I started this podcast, is because I felt I was a piece of shit and I was a complete waste of life. And then I started this little program, you may have heard of it, called 75 Hard in the Live Hard program, and I started to really, truly focus on personally develop myself and taking action and not falling into my excuses that I used to fall into. When I realized that I can do fucking anything that I wanted, when I just stopped making excuses and truly believed and worked my fucking ass off, that's when I realized, well, shit, you actually can do anything that you want to do. I need to help other people realize that. And that's where this podcast came from. That's where the Powerhouse Mentality came from. Your mindset and your perspective drives your performance. And you always get to choose what your perspective is going to be. What are you going to choose to think about today? We get one life that you've been gifted with. Living is a gift. Don't waste it because you fear the outcome won't be successful or because you can't please everybody. Love the one life you have. Love the one life you've been given. And take advantage of each day like it's your last opportunity, like it's your last shot. Now go out today and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.